You did start.
I think both of us hit it at the same time.
Oh. Okay. For the record, this is the Hingham Light Board meeting of January 10th, 2023, 7:30 a.m. And I have just read to the meeting the open meeting law disclaimer about the virtual meeting that we're having. So our first, you know what? I think the approval of the minutes didn't get onto the agenda. Excuse me. Does anybody have any objection to adding the approval of the minutes of December 21st to the agenda right now?
Nope.
And, Tyler and Mike, have you had the chance to look over those minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes if there's no suggestion for changes.
So moved.
Okay. No, Tyler's here twice. Tyler, will you second the motion to, you don't get two votes. If you can unmute and second the motion, that would be great.
Second.
Thanks. So all in favor of approving the minutes of December 21st, Mike?
Aye.
Tyler?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Thanks. Okay, and I have not, hang on a second while I change my name because that seems like a good idea. Haven't done that yet. Okay. Okay. The next item on the agenda is to return to our list of questions about the opt-in green tariff policy, which is continued from the December 21st meeting, and we were up to the set of questions, excuse me, about implementation that we need to discuss. And I wonder if, Brianna, I bet you have those up. I wonder if we can, or Tom, I wonder if we can put those up on the screen so that we can all see the
Yeah, I believe
questions.
Brianna has those up.
Excellent. Okay, so there was one of these questions that we moved to this section as per the minutes. Let me go back and look at the minutes and ask, unless somebody remembers. Hang on a second. Oh, minutes. Okay. So, okay, yes, it's number 3 under the last. How will the light plant ensure that the program development process and the opt-out process is open, accessible, and advertised to everyone? And I think that that question. Now I got to get back to the meeting. Sorry. So I think, yeah, I think that question is kind of like almost logically the last question on implementation process and next steps. So maybe take that up first. So am I recollecting this correctly, that we already answered the questions on custom, or discussed anyway, the questions on customer impacts and minus this question, and we discussed the program structure and spending questions, and we're now at the implementation process and next steps. We move those to the end. Okay. Okay, so first question is, when does the board, excuse me, want to take a vote to formally move forward with the opt-out program? I think we discussed that a little bit at the last meeting, if I recollect, that we said that we were going to shoot for actually starting the program in Q2, and if not, to postpone it to Q4, because those are the time of years when the time of the year when rates are the least impactful. Is that what other folks remember?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, great.
Yeah.
That I think that's probably yeah, I think that's probably firm enough. And the next question is, does the board have key thresholds that would be considered if the program implementation needs to be delayed? For example, a certain percentage of opt-outs or a certain percentage of opt-outs within a certain period, a certain percentage increase in electric rates in within the same year. So just to be clear, Brianna, when you suggest a certain percentage of electric rates within the same year, you mean before we adopt?
Yeah, I think if the rate study comes back and the rates are going to go up in a dramatic way that we're not anticipating, does the board want to have some sort of contingency in place where this program gets delayed a certain amount of time in relation to the shift to the rates or something like that?
Yeah. Okay, any discussion about that? Mike or Tyler, any thoughts?
I definitely like to wait and see after we get the rate study back.
Yeah.
And then maybe make a call at that time.
Whenever that may be, because I guess that's when we've really gone over it and decided to adopt new rates, that's when we'll know what the rates are going to be, right? Mike, does that make sense to you?
Yes, I think we're the cart before the horse until we really know where we stand with the rate study. And I think we can look at what our peer munis are doing and compare that to what the investor-owned utilities are doing at the moment as well, for comparison and perspective.
Okay. And then how do we feel about the question of whether there is a certain percentage of opt-outs or a certain percentage of opt-outs within a 1 month period of time? Would that give us an indication that we should delay the program?
A large percentage of opt-outs would definitely be indicative to me that we haven't at least communicated the program appropriately. I'm not 100% sure whether that means we should delay it, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question of socialization here, I think, is what we're trying to answer.
Yeah, I agree that we need to get that part right. Once we've put it in place, though, I don't know that it's wise to change our minds. If that feels like a bit of a whiplash for the ratepayers and the staff.
Mm-hmm.
I see Mike and Tyler kind of shaking there. I mean, Tom and Joan and Brianna and Steve. And what do you think? And Mark?
Yeah, I think if we're gonna go ahead with the program, then we go ahead with the program. If we only get half of the people to, or if half of the people opt out, I think it's telling that people are concerned about rates and the cost of our, electricity, I guess. But our plan is to advertise this and do a really good job of advertising this, and we'll know even prior to starting the program how many people for the most part are going to opt out. We plan on having a list of all those who want to opt out before we implement the program.
I have something. From an implementation standpoint, if we have 50% of the people opt out, the way I plan on implementing this is putting the rate on everyone's account and then manually taking the people off who opt out. So 50% off of 5,000 accounts we're talking about.
Oh.
And I think that's why too, I put the question on here, because if we start to get a dramatic number of calls, more than we anticipated, if we start getting hundreds of phone calls inundating the customer service department, do we want, like, at a certain point, does something happen where, you know, we need to reform something in the program, something's wrong? It's not going as anticipated. I am worried about us getting an overload of opt-outs especially in a short period of time. And I also don't know if we get a certain number of opt-outs, does the program become ineffective? You know, will we not have the funding we need to actually do any of the projects that the program is supposed to fund? 50% we still would, but if it get like even further, you know, if you think about it dramatically, only 20% of the people stay in the program. So that's what this is just supposed to think about. I mean, I don't think that the program should necessarily be cut or delayed. And I think once we go forward with it, it's good to stick with it. But just, you know, something to think about.
Maybe if we hit a certain percentage, it should become an opt-in rather than opt-out.
Well, I think that will be real whiplash for the ratepayers, that we set up an opt-out rate and then tell them now they have to call an opt-in. For people who look at it and go, oh yeah, I'm into that, I'll let that happen, and stop thinking about it. I think that will be very confusing. How about what if during our advertising period, we, you know, send out you know, a variety of notifications to the public and say, if you plan to opt out when this rate is put in, would you please contact the light plant and tell us? Either, you know, give them an easy link to go to make that indication or something. It would be like taking a pre-implementation poll. You know, if a lot of people go to the trouble to do that, then we'll know that the program is not doing as well as we'd hoped. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think the plan was, again, is to find out before we even implemented it, is to find out how many people are going to opt out, right? To have that list of opt-outs long before we changed the rate.
Oh, okay.
That's what Wellesley did.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So in that case, we would know that already. Although there will be more opt-outs after you implement it and people look at their bill and they haven't picked up on what's going on. So certainly that won't be all the opt-outs, but yeah, so that's kind of what I was suggesting. That would give us the, you know, if we have an overwhelming response of people opting out, that would give us an indication that we should delay the program at the least, and not having started it up. I don't think that would be the whiplash that I thought it would. What do Tyler and Mike think?
I think if we look at the success that Wellesley's had and mirror our program based on that, I know things have changed, and certainly people are noticing the PCA, for example, and it's a larger percentage of the bill than it has been in the past. I think people are looking for rates increasing because they're hearing about the rates that National Grid and Eversource are now being able to charge. And we know that that's based on the high prices of natural gas. So I think people are paying more attention to their HMLP bill these days, just because things are more expensive and they're keeping an eye on costs.
So are you concerned that there might be a large number of opt-outs?
I think it depends how much this charge ends up being. If it's, you know, a handful of dollars, people are probably going to accept that. But if it gets into tens of dollars, then people may think twice. I think it's perception.
I know one big thing, this is Ellen from customer service, but I know one big enticement we've always had is that our customers love is that 10% discount. People love that. We no longer offer that. It's not 10% anymore. So now we're coupling it with the PCA going down, with the rate increase going up. Now you're asking customers to give another 4%. I mean, I think this is personally, I think this might be a tough sell for a lot of people. You know, and I think that if we look and we say, okay, we have a lot of people opting out, maybe we should think about turning around and have people opting in at this point. People that can afford it, that want to put into it, let people opt into it. Maybe when the economy gets better, we'll have more people opting in when, you know, I don't know if our rates will ever come down, but maybe when the economy turns around a little bit, people are like, oh yeah, I think I want to opt into this program. I can't afford that 4% now. That's, you know, just another thought.
Mhm. Thank you. I'm confused by what you just said. You said we don't offer the discount anymore?
We offered it, but it's not 10% anymore.
Oh, okay.
It's
Is it- what
it's
is it?
very low, but you know, when you're looking at the PCA, you know, things are changing now. Joan, you might be, I'm sorry, I just don't actually know. I don't have a bill in front of me, but
I have a bill in front of me.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm just looking at my discount, so I was just wondering, what percentage is it?
Yeah, I mean,
What percentage?
we've, the big sell was to go on auto pay because then you get that discount, that 10% discount, but it's no longer 10%. It's, go ahead, Joan.
It's not 10% of the total bill, it's 10% of the customer charge and the transmission and distribution. So the energy and the PCA are not discounted. So
Okay, so
look at
that's the
total
change.
bill. Yeah, if you look
Okay.
at the total, but it's always been like that. It's never been the 100% of the bill was 10% off.
Okay. Okay. But you haven't heard from people about that, right?
I haven't.
Yeah. Okay. But, you know, I do agree that I think it's tremendously appealing. People really, really like it.
I think
So
it's
there-
important for cash flow, keeping a discount there. I mean,
Okay.
most people get the money in, and if I wasn't getting a discount, I wouldn't be paying on time every month. Why? I mean, it's a huge benefit to paying on time, and it really helps our cash flow.
So let me just ask, Ellen, were you suggesting that, you know, if we have a really large reaction of people saying, I'm going to opt out, that would be a moment to say, make it opt in? Was that the idea?
I think so. I
Uh-huh.
do. I mean, I think that, I mean, I'm kind of unique in a sense that I live in Hingham and I also work here. So I hear the calls that are coming in. In the earlier meeting, the meeting on January 5th, we talked about, and I don't want to get into too in depth in that, but we talked about low income. But I think that there a lot of times people look at Hingham as having like this low income group and then this very wealthy group, but most of our customers are really right in between. And I'm one of those that kind of fall in between. And I think people are really struggling with their bills. We have a lot of calls saying, wow, these bills are, you know, are the rates increasing? What's going on? That's just what's coming in. Absolutely. Help me add to that. So
Okay.
I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but
No, I'm
think it's
really interested in your point of view.
yeah, I think it's going to be especially with, you know, the rates are going up. With the rates going up, and then I want to be completely honest with people. I don't want it to be something that we kind of, and I'm not just saying this, but I don't want it to be kind of like slid in this rate. I want it to get out there so people know that there's going to be another 4% being on top of this rate increase.
Yeah.
We're going to be paying into this, and that they do have that option to opt out, because I guarantee you, we will get a lot of phone calls. We've been able to keep our collections at a very good level right now, but we have people that are really on that cusp that it's gonna throw a lot of people into that collection bank. So,
Well, fortunately, under the opt-out system, you would be able to offer them that option when they call, and that might
right.
help them feel better about
Exactly.
things.
Mhm. I guess my overall point is that it's just not going to be the low income people. It's going to be the people
Yeah.
who have kids in college that are, you know, that are struggling to pay their $1 million homes that they just bought. You know, it's truth. We had a person with a $2.4 million home that was struggling to pay their electric bill. And that is not a lie, like we, so, and we shut them off twice. So it's not just the low income people that we're looking at here.
Yeah, I know that's true. And even for people who, people who buy, like, I think the median home income in Hingham is over $800,000 now. So your average home in Hingham is incredibly expensive. And so somebody who's trying to buy into the town for, the education for their kids could easily run into that situation, even if their house isn't $2.4 million. So I take your point very strongly.
One thought, but I think it would delay the program is to maybe do a customer survey. We haven't done one here in Hingham. I know other municipalities have conducted customer surveys to see where people are and what they're looking for from the light plant. That's a possibility if you wanted to pursue that.
Well, from my standpoint, if we're getting a lot of calls already on rates going up and people find themselves in a difficult place, and the front office is hearing from them, that feels like a prudent step. I mean, I wouldn't want, I'd be willing, even if we can't get it done for Q2, I would be willing to wait to take that step, because it seems like a good idea to me. What does the rest of the board think about that, or anyone for that matter?
I actually also have a note here to ask you if the board wants to do a survey in advance, because I think releasing that survey is a good idea, and it would be distinguished from an opt-out form where it's. But I don't know if it would confuse people if they fill out a survey asking if they would opt in or opt out of this type of a program, and then later we have an actual opt-out form. Are people going to get confused at all? I'm sure we can distinguish it enough, but
if they don't give us their name when they answer the survey, perhaps they won't be under the impression that they've signed up for an opt-out rate or signed off on an opt-out rate. I don't know. There would be a wonderful opportunity to also put out the idea of a time of use rate and kind of start socializing that, and give people a little education about it, and asking what their opinion is about that. Because that's a huge change if we're contemplating that.
Yeah, I think we could incorporate this customer satisfaction survey. I mean, I think there's companies that target them, and they actually look at, we can get into everything on that. I mean, you target questions, dealing with the transmission line that we have coming in and the potential impact on rates. I mean, there's a lot of questions that you could target. And I know Belmont, the general manager there, I had spoken to him probably a couple months ago, and they did one. And it was pretty eye-opener to some of the people, and they target a specific percentage, so thought it was pretty good. He was pretty impressed with it.
Are we looking to do this electronically through email or through a form filler on our website, or are we looking to do a paper stuffer in the bill?
I would say
we would hire a
firm.
company.
Yeah,
we would hire a company to actually do the survey. I think Belmont used, I think it's Great Blue, and other municipalities have used, I believe it's that company. But I mean, there are a number of them out there that will do surveys. We just need to do a little research on one that fits our needs.
And presumably there'd be a variety of ways to answer. Like, you could get an email if you're on our email, or even on the town's email list, where you can, we'll probably do a bill stuffer that they could send in,
I think they typically do, they call out to a certain percentage of customers.
Oh, wow.
So it's a phone survey.
No, okay. That will be interesting. I mean, I don't know about you, but I no longer pick up the phone. I think
Yeah, I think we would, again, we would probably have to advertise that to let people
Yeah.
know that it's coming, maybe send, do a blast or something.
Yeah.
But it would be, typically it's a targeted, they target certain groups within the community. So they get a good representation of the overall community.
Well, I hear sort of a consensus of the board and staff that maybe this is a good step to take, considering how many changes are in the offing. It's a good moment. Is there any disagreement about that? Okay. So
Yeah.
I think the board thinks that's a good idea.
I think it's a good idea, but I also like the idea of publicizing and getting the word out about the new transmission project and time of use metering and billing, and also the program that we're putting together for incentives. I think it's a good chance to get the word out and let people connect the dots, all the things that are going on and all the things that have got to be paid for.
Yeah, of course. If they're just going to do it by phone, I mean that's more scientific, as opposed to leaving it open for somebody to go in and tell us 10 times they don't want the new green tariff on a website or something. But not that many people will be informed by this if we're doing it just by phone. So we need to keep that in mind. But I do think generating the questions and the information that they would put into the survey will be valuable going forward for we can reuse that, what we've generated for, communications on other platforms. I would think.
So as a suggestion, I could, we could look to see who's out there that does it, choose someone, and then have them come in and present to us and get our the board's feedback on what they would like to see within that survey.
Okay.
And I can reach out to, like Mark said, Belmont has done one. I can reach out and maybe get their survey and maybe pass it along ahead of time to the board to take a look at.
And that would be excellent. And we might speed the process up a little bit if you guys, if the staff gets Belmont survey and maybe has a draft.
Yeah.
That the board could react to. And that would generate thinking about what's left out, or, what might be said a different way, but that might move things forward. If we could do that
Sure.
before the next meeting, then we could talk about it then. Any other thoughts on the survey idea? Okay, so returning to the question of a certain percentage of opt-outs, I wonder if we need to make that decision up front. I mean, I think it has really raised the question of what we would do if there was a large number of opt-outs, and maybe we don't need to make some kind of hard and fast rule about it, but reevaluate when we get the information. But it was a good question to talk about for sure. Any other thoughts on that? Okay, so the next question is, should the opt-out fund be in the climate action plan so that town meeting can vote on it? So I just want to be clear that town meeting is not going to vote on the whole climate action plan. There will be pieces of the climate action plan that need to go to town meeting, but there will be a lot of pieces that don't have to go to town meeting. They're going to be for implementing by this, the town staff or whatever at their staff level. So it's not going to be like a thing. The climate action plan is not a big thing that's all going to go to town meeting and get voted on there. But there will be pieces of it that will. This would not be a piece of it that would need to go to town meeting. I think we've set up, I mean, it is true that in other, I think in Wellesley, their green tariff, their opt-out green tariff began with a petition article to town meeting, didn't it? Yes, so
I
they.
think so, yeah, yeah.
They started at town meeting.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, that is a way to take something like that to town meeting is a way to, to get information out there and to get feedback from the town. Town meeting can only advise the light plant on what to do, can't tell the light plant what to do, but it would be good advice to have. But I think it is probably, it's January, is it January?
I would say it's too late
Today?
for that, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's too late for this year, certainly, because warrant articles have to be in by January 20th. So
And maybe the survey accomplishes the same type
plays
of.
the same
right?
role. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Without taking up time at town meeting, which everybody appreciates. Okay, so would a proposal like this be presented to the Climate Action Planning Committee at a joint meeting with the board? That, or would staff make the proposal? I would imagine if it, and I'm just going to throw this out there just based on, my experience working in the town, that it would be great if the Climate Action Planning Committee would put it on their agenda and we can go and present it, and it can be, I would think some staff and some board would be part of that, unless the whole board wants to go, in which case we would have to post it as a meeting of our own, but you can do that. But that's sort of how I envision it. Whenever they would like to hear about this, I do think we should go and bounce it off them. What do other folks think?
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Likewise.
Okay. So our folks on the meeting who are members of the Climate Action Planning Committee, maybe we can leave it to you to arrange with them when they would like to have us present this program. It's not ready to be presented yet. I mean, unless they want us to come and throw out the idea, we don't have the details yet, but we could come at any time that makes sense to you folks who are part of that committee. So just let us know what you think makes sense.
Okay.
What language would be best in the opt-out fund spending policy that's going to be released to the public for, well, that's something that we need to draft for sure. So ideally, if staff could draft something for the board to react to, that would speed matters up, I think. Is that doable, Tom?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, great. So that takes us back to the last question, which we postponed from above. Can you roll us up there, Brianna? It was, how will HMLP ensure that the program development process and opt-out process is open, accessible, and advertised to everyone? So here we're really talking about what is our publicity plan around that, and that is a big subject that needs to be developed. And I think that's probably going to fall on Brianna to develop that, since she's both our communications and our sustainability coordinator. Does that make sense, Tom?
It does, yeah. And we'll work with her internally. We'll work with her and on
Okay.
that plan, getting that
And-
plan together.
And Brianna, if you'd like help from anybody on the board putting that together or running ideas by us or in an informal way, feel free, just bounce stuff off us if that would be helpful. And
Okay.
maybe we can shoot for having a plan to discuss at the next meeting. Is that reasonable?
Sounds good. Yep, we already have a draft that we're
Okay.
looking at, so that's good.
Okay, great. Okay. So I think that for now, answers all the questions that we brought forward, at least enough to go forward. Is there anything that we talked about in this meeting or the previous meeting about this that anybody on the staff feels like we don't have a clear enough, we haven't settled enough to at least move to the next step here? Or do we have enough information to go forward at this point? Looks like we have enough information to go forward at this point. So we'll just see what we've got when we come back. So I'd like to ask if there's any comments or questions from members of the public before we move on to the next agenda item on this topic. Okay, seeing none, we will move on to the next agenda item.
Laura, can I, and I apologize, I must have, when I put the agenda together, I obviously used my, the meeting from the 21st as my template, and which didn't include the meeting minutes, but we didn't approve the meeting minutes from would have been December 13th, I think it is.
Okay. Did you send them out?
I think I sent out both sets
You
of
sent out
minutes.
both sets. Okay. Did people
And we
have the
can do that at the next meeting.
Yeah, did people have the opportunity to review? I'm not sure I did. I would have to go back and look to make sure I reviewed that. Yeah, let's do that at the next
Okay,
meeting.
I'll put that on I'll make
Yeah.
sure I have meeting minutes on the agenda next time.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the update on the rate study.
So we've met with Utility Financial Services a number of times, and most recently just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. They are in the process of wrapping up the rate study. We should have something from them by the end of the month. It won't be the rate design. They won't do the rate design until they've met with the board. So our plan is to have them come in at the next board meeting and present the study. They'll get feedback back from the board on exactly what they are looking for in the rates for the, so the low income rate, the time of use rate, all of those things. They'll be looking for the board's input on those rates. And then they'll put together a rate design, and they'll come back in March with the rate design.
Okay, that sounds good. I just, I want to tell the board that I spent the weekend reading this book by the Regulatory Assistance Project. It's, can you see it? It's Electric Cost Allocation for a New Era by the Regulatory Assistance Project. Some of you know Brian LaBelle, Mark LaBelle, who lives in town, who's works with the Regulatory Assistance Project. He edited this book. He gave it to me. I am so much more informed about this process than I was before I read this book. Now, I won't deny there was a considerable application of effort required because some of it's fairly technical, but one of the best things about it has an awesome glossary in the back that explains all the terms that you need. Now, I do have a PDF version of this, and I'm going to send it to the board. But I began with the PDF version, and then I concluded that I really needed a book, physical book that I can write in. And Mark has these things at his house, and he just left it in the mailbox for me. So if you would like physical copies of the book, I can get those for you too, and bring them around. So I don't know, Tyler and Mike, would you like this book? I can't recommend it highly enough, although it's it requires time and attention, but I feel like I will be so much more ready when they come back with a cost study. So would you like me to get you this book?
I'll take one. Thank you.
Would anybody else like this book?
I would love to get a copy.
Okay, I will do that. Mark, okay. I don't know how many Mark LaBelle. Oh, everybody wants.
Well,
One, two,
again, if we have one, at least a couple
to
here.
share it
that-
around.
yeah,
Okay.
we can share them. I mean,
Okay, so I'll ask Mark how many he has, but I will at any rate send the PDF version to everybody who raised their hands.
Okay. Yeah.
So that Joan, did you raise your hand too? Okay. Okay, so we'll do that. So that's all we have on the. I sort of kind of thought maybe we would be having the cost.
So,
service study in here today now.
our conversations with them, I think they're looking, and again, this isn't, this is just preliminary we're probably looking at somewhere around a 6% increase each year for the next 3 years. But again, that's preliminary. They'll come back at the next board meeting with the exact numbers.
Okay, did they
And
give?
again, that wouldn't be, you know, some rates might be less than that, some rates might be more than that, based on the design,
So you're talking about average?
on
rate
average,
increase.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, well, as he mentioned in I also went back and listened to the last meeting we had with him to make sure I understood where we were going. And of course, their first thing they do is set the revenue requirement. How much money do we need to keep things functioning? And then whatever rates you make and however they work out and whatever if you go to time of use, what are your peaks and what are your off peaks? It all has to raise that same amount of money, no matter what the rate design is. So this is an opportunity for us to create other ways that people who are struggling with the rates can make changes that will lower their rates. Time of use rates offer people the opportunity to move their electric activity to a cheaper time. And it can be way cheaper than working at, you can make a real difference in your rates by
Definitely.
doing that. So that's something positive that we can offer the public along with a rate increase if that's what turns out to be necessary.
So
Okay.
Tom, we'll meet with them at the next board meeting, and they should have a final report end of March. When would we plan to implement?
We would be looking to implement in April, May time period.
Okay.
Does that 6% include the cost of the new transmission project?
They have that information, so that should include, and again, this would be a 3-year window. So given that the transmission line wouldn't come online until probably year 3, we'd have to see how that affects future years.
And were they using your most recent number from Eversource about what the connection
Yes.
will
Yep.
be?
Yep.
Okay. And does it look like that's final? There's no more discussion with them about this?
Again, it's an estimate. It's a
Oh, of course, right. So it's
and
gonna be
it's-
higher.
it could be higher, it could be lower. You
No,
know,
it'll be
when we've
higher.
looked at it, there are some things included in that estimate that that we may not need at that station, or we feel they wouldn't need, you know, based on some technical things, you know, secondary supplies that are available through National Grid and things like that. So it could be lower, but you know, I think it's best to think that that's what the number is going to be at this point.
Okay. Okay, any other comments from board or staff about the future of the rate study? Are there any comments or questions from members of the public about the rate study at this point? Nope. Okay. Thanks for that. And now we'll move on to our next agenda item, which is, I think is financials. Am I right?
Yep. Let me see if I can share this. Do it.
3-year summary and year to date.
Can you see that now?
Yeah.
Okay. So for November, kilowatt hour sales were 12.7 million, our revenue 2.4, expenses 2.1, and our net income was 273,000 for the month, which, you know, looking at the last 3 years is quite a bit above what we normally see in those months. When we look at year to date, 176 million kilowatt hours sold, 31 million in revenue, 28 million in expenses, and our net income is 2.9 million. Looking at the budget, we're projecting to be 2.9 million at year end for our revenue, which is about 4.4% return. So overall, we're in really good shape for 2022. Typically, we don't have the year end numbers until late in February. I believe it is, Joan, right? For December.
Actually, it's usually a little later because they don't even come in to do the audit until April. I mean, I can give you preliminary numbers,
Yeah.
but they won't be finalized to the audit.
So overall, we're in good shape for 22, and the PCA adjustment really helped us achieve, get to where we needed to be for this year.
I have one other comment regarding the financials. Something that's helping us right now significantly is the interest rate environment to the tune of about $100,000 a month.
There
So
you go.
just rates
Something,
going up, but there is a
something not to count on, but when it's there, it's
but we have to keep that in mind going forward for budget purposes as well. Because once they come back down, we'll no longer have that revenue.
yeah. Okay, I figured it was the PCA that was doing the work for us there, the adjustment. So any other comments either from anyone, including the public, on our financials for this month? Okay, seeing none, then I think we can move on to the next item on the agenda, which is updates. Transmission line project, EV chargers, solar on the light plant, and municipal solar.
Right. The transmission project, we're actually meeting with the town of Weymouth this afternoon to get their feedback on the two preferred and alternate routes. So hopefully we'll have some feedback from them on those routes today. Right now, we're in the process of updating the project cost. So LIG Engineering is working on that for us. But otherwise, we continue to meet weekly on the transmission line project. We're looking at filing with the Electric Facility Siting Board probably at this point at the end of February, beginning of March. Any questions
Okay.
on that?
No.
EV chargers, the level 3 chargers, we have a meeting with the town. The one at Station Street doesn't seem to be any issue installing that, but we need to go to the planning board for the one at Lynchfield. That is scheduled for January 23rd. Once we get that approval, we'll go out and purchase the equipment and start the process of an RFP to have those installed. So we're hoping to have them in by this summer sometime. And again, the two locations are Station Street and Lynchfield on those. And the other ones are all up and running. We do see, we have seen a little more activity with those each month. So
We'll get there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Could I just take a brief pause? I see that Mark LaBelle has joined us because I invited him because I thought we might be talking about the cost of service study today, but we're not. It's going to be next month. We were just getting an update, but I told everybody that I spent the weekend reading this book and that I am much better informed, and everyone wants a copy. I'm gonna send the PDF to them, but we need, if we could get at least 4 copies, I don't know how many you have. I will deliver them to everybody.
I only have 2 left, actually.
Okay,
Plus
all right,
my
well,
own, but
okay, so I'm gonna, can I have those 2?
sure.
Okay, I'm gonna give those to the board and.
And we're not opposed to buying some if they're available.
There are some up in our Vermont office.
It's sold out, Tom. It's an
yeah, right.
absolute bestseller. It is
Easy
completely sold
reading.
out.
Yeah, light beach read. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay,
Let me know.
okay, thanks for joining us. Okay, sorry. Continuing with the updates.
Yeah, so the HMLP solar project, we have, we went to Deirdre with the outline of the RFP. We got her feedback. Chris Karafis is now working on getting that RFP together to go out, and we're hoping to get that out within the next month. That project would be slated to be done sometime this summer.
Speaking of similar updates, I don't suppose you've heard anything from the people doing the landfill project.
I did reach out to them, and he told me they are still on track for that project this summer.
This summer.
This summer.
Okay, cross fingers. Great. Okay, and then
Municipal solar.
municipal solar, yeah, so let me give the update, but you can chime in, Brianna, Tom, whoever. We had a meeting where the municipal solar group consists of Tom and Brianna, me, and Will Cowan and Ben Lee, who are volunteers. And we're scheduled a meeting every 2 weeks, and we'll meet unless we don't need to meet in a particular week. At our last meeting, we talked about, we've had some conversations with the town, and I'll update on things that have happened since then. We've proposed to the town what we would sort of prefer is a model where either the town buys, goes to town meeting for funds to, or uses excess funds or whatever to build their own facilities, or the light plant could lend to the town in order for them to build their own facilities. The other option is the light plant could build facilities on town buildings. And since that time, I got an email on Friday from Art Robert, who is the assistant town administrator who's going to be working with us, saying that the town has decided they don't want to own anything. They want a PPA concept. And I'm not sure what they mean by that, because of course, so we're trying to get back in touch with them and clarify it. And I think the sense was that because at the town meeting that's coming up, we're going to be looking at operating override after having passed 2 exclusion override, debt exclusion overrides in the fall. Property taxes are going to be going up very much, and they simply don't want to go to town meeting and present another expenditure at the same time. And that's my guess. I'm just guessing. I got some sense that that might be what's behind it. And so I'm gonna make the case, and I still think it makes sense for the town to go to town meeting and ask if they have to have permission from town meeting to borrow from us, which they might. I think it makes sense even to do that, because these are expenditures that you can say, you can tell them what the payback time is, and the fact that the town will be making money off of these expenditures after a certain point in time. And none of these other things that the town has been spending money on, can you say that about? It has a lot of appeal, I think. You can present it as something that's actually going to alleviate your taxes in the future. So I still think that we can make a case that's a good idea. Meanwhile, I got a call from Christine Smith, who is the chair of the South Shore Country Club Committee, saying, Laura, we're ready. The building is building. What are we going to do about solar? And of course, they are at the top of our list of installations because it's a brand new building. It's a great it's a great exposure and the committee is all for it. And she said, what do we do? So I explained the discussion we're having about finances, but they are ready to go as soon as we figure out how to pay for it. So that's cheerful, because one of the things our committee wants to do is, develop a template for, okay, this is how we do this, so that we can figure out what our method is for getting this done, and then do it again and again and again. So this is the first one. It's the hardest one to figure out how to get it done. But I think one way or another, we're going to make progress on that soon. So that is the update. Anything else, Tom or Brianna?
Yeah. I did have a conversation with our legal counsel about the, what we can do and what we can't do type of thing. She did say that, funding studies for things that we would not own for the town, we would not be able to do that, because if you do it for the town, you have to be able to do it for everyone. And we couldn't do that. So, one thought that I did have.
I hadn't heard that one before. If we do it for the town, we'd have to do it for everyone. You mean like we'd have to, like Mike could call up and say, I'd like the light plan to do it.
Right? He did it for one
engineering study of
ratepayer.
my roof.
You're doing it for one ratepayer. You need to do it for all ratepayers.
Okay, and it doesn't matter that the ratepayer owns us, that
No,
we belong to the town. It doesn't matter.
no.
Okay. This is beyond me, but okay.
Yeah. So one thought I did have was, one way that we can provide assistance to the town is through our pilot payment. So that there's nothing to prevent us from saying, we have the green fund, it's for projects within the town, have some agreement with the town that we give them an extra whatever it is that we have in the green fund, whether it's 100,000, it's $1 million, whatever it is that the board decides, we could increase the pilot by that amount for whatever projects that we have in mind. The only problem with that is, if the town has the money, then
Did you run that one by our attorney as well?
I did. I talked to her about that.
And she thought that would be okay?
She said you can do whatever you please with the pilot, but
That's right, because we can give them however much money
Right.
we.
but the
I see.
town ultimately doesn't have to do whatever you're asking them to do.
Okay, and we can't sign an agreement with them. We can't put conditions on the pilot, in other words.
We
sign a
can't put
condition with
conditions
them.
on the pilot, but we could, I guess we could have an agreement with the town. Between boards, I guess, that whatever extra
We
fund.
couldn't, but we couldn't sign a legal memorandum of agreement.
I have to
saying
check with her on that. I
this
didn't,
is what it's for, because my guess is, yeah, we can give them as much money as we want, but then it's theirs
it's theirs.
legally
That's
and they can't, yeah.
pretty much that's it. Yeah.
So we could have a gentleman's and gentlewoman's agreement, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it depends on how good you feel about that. That's a really interesting idea, Tom. That is great. Yeah, because I feel like another one that is, the 4 buildings at the top of our list are middle school, public safety, Foster, and the country club. 2 of those buildings don't exist yet, obviously, so they won't be designed, even that, we won't be doing the solar design for another 2 years. We have some time to figure that out. But I feel like the middle school roof probably needs an engineering study. So that would be a good place to start with that. Any other thoughts or comments about the municipal solar project, which is moving very, very slowly down the tracks? Okay. I think that is the end of our list of updates that we need. Is there anything else? That's the end of our list of updates. I'm sorry, I gotta put this down so I can see if there's anybody else. Okay, are there any comments or questions from members of the public Yes, Brenda, please identify yourself.
Brenda Black, Advisory Committee Liaison. What is the current thinking about articles for a town meeting about permission to put solar on municipal?
I'm so glad you said that, because that obviously is the piece of the municipal solar update that I forgot. So I thank you, Brenda. What would I do without you? So I did send out the latest draft of the article. We approved, and I don't know, am I in a position where I can share? Can you make me a co-host or something? So I can share.
You should be a co-host.
I should be a co-host. Okay, hang on, but I don't have it up. The article, let me just find it. Okay. All right, now I should be able to share this. Okay, here's the article as it stands now. So this part from will the town authorize down through following municipal and school properties, and the bottom part for the purposes of installing blah, 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 has already been approved by the board as language. And then what I've done is add the list of buildings. Whoops, here, Cove Park, add the list of buildings. I just wanted to send this out and see if you guys could think of any other buildings that I forgot. It's pretty hard to come up with a list of all the town and school buildings, as it happens. Some of these are very small and some of them are very large, but the idea is boot and suspenders. So the word from town council is that we do not need this article for putting solar arrays on a building. We only need it for land, or as so this is from Jenny Leclerc, the town's sustainability coordinator. She said only for open space. And I said, well, we're not proposing to put any solar arrays on open space. That is a whole, we would not, I can't imagine that when we have so many other great opportunities that are not open space that we have not yet put solar on. And obviously none of these properties on this list are open space. So I am honestly still unclear on how required this is. But they passed this article similar in Concord, and it was suggested to me that just for belt and suspenders, just in case there are issues going down the road, that we don't want the light plant from being prevented from putting a project on town roofs. And I know right now that actually us paying for those projects is the town's preferred mode of going forward, obviously. So perhaps the town will be very interested in having this article pass. But that's where this stands. And if the board approves this article as it stands with a list of buildings, then I would love to be able to run it by town council before we submit it on the 20th, just because it's nice to have, the real language when you submit it, but I suspect that's not going to be possible. So we may just submit this article as it is, and if it, changes in the advisory committee process or perhaps, I don't know if town council can change the language of articles after they are submitted. I'm a little vague on that as well. But one way or another, if the town is interested in having this happen, they will help us get the language right before town meeting. So any thoughts or comments from the board on this? Did you find any buildings? I forgot. Looks like no.
One thought for another roof that's available is by the high school, by the tennis courts, around where all the sports equipment and stadia are. There's a fairly large roof there that looks in good shape, that's unshaded.
Yes, so that's a good point, Mike. the reason for identifying these by address, and ultimately they'll be identified by parcel number too, which I didn't have the ability to do, but it means the whole parcel, everything on the Hingham High School land would be
Okay.
included, and same for all of these other locations. Brenda?
You probably want to refer to the elementary school at 55 Downer Ave, because it's not going to be called Foster, I suspect.
Are you serious?
Yeah,
Okay.
the new one will not be, yep.
Okay. Poor Selectman Foster. Okay, I will do that. Any other thoughts or remarks on this language? I don't see any. Okay, so let's have a board to vote to submit this article to the select board for inclusion in the warrant. I'll entertain that motion. Would anybody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second,
Okay, all in favor. Tyler?
aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Laura? Aye. Okay. I will send that over to the select board. As soon as I change the name of the elementary school. I'm so glad Brenda was here, because that was the thing I had to accomplish today. So thank you. Okay, I think that is the end of our updates, unless there's anything else. Okay, thank you very much.
Just before
yes.
we adjourn, so the next meeting will be February, I think it's the 13th, maybe February 14th. And the plan would be to have utility financial services on that meeting to present. Given that I'm assuming that is going to take up the majority of that meeting. Do we want to push the survey to March, or how do we want to handle that?
Well, in general, I prefer to, and the board has agreed that we might have extra meetings when we have work that we need to get through rather than delaying things. I don't know how you feel about that, Mike and Tyler. If we cannot get to the survey in the next meeting, perhaps we could schedule a special meeting to go through it.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, so
sounds
that's
good.
what we'll do. We'll see how the meeting goes, and if we use up all the meeting on the cost of service study, fine, and we'll schedule a different meeting to shortly thereafter to look at the survey.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, then I did want to ask Tom, did they say that we would be able to get the study before the meeting? Because it certainly would be best if we had time to look at it before the meeting.
Yeah, I will work on that. I know we have a meeting with them. I think it's I believe it's either next week or actually, I think it's the 31st. We have a meeting with them. So whatever I get from them at that meeting, I'll pass them on to the board.
Okay, great. Okay, if there's nothing else, thanks very much. Have a great day, everyone. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Mark, did you raise your hand? Oh, okay. Okay, all in favor, Mike,
Aye.
Tyler,
aye.
Laura, aye. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
Bye, guys.